Hey there, it's Jeff and Jamie. Excited to be with you on the Streaking podcast again. Today, we have something very special in that we are releasing a new type of streak on the My Streaks app, and we want to talk about the reasons why. It's called a challenge streak, and there's several reasons as to why we're rolling it out and how a challenge streak can help you ultimately reach who you want to be. So with that, let's start streaking. What is streaking and why should you do it?
Streaking is how you set up personal winning streaks. Look at who you want to be and what you need to do to become that person. This is streaking.
I'm Jeff.
And I'm Jamie.
And we are streakers. Through 30 years of marriage and 7 children, we have learned the power of consecutive consistency or streaking.
To start streaking is simple. You just follow these 3 laws. Make it laughably simple, keep a record, and join the streaking community.
Streaking is your hidden superpower. With it, you will consistently progress and grow in whatever area of life you want.
In this podcast, Jeff and I will share all the fun, exciting, serious, solemn, wonderful parts of family, spiritual, professional, and personal life, and how streaking powers it all.
So join us in the conversation, join the movement, and start streaking today. So challenge streaks coming out, Jamie. This is pretty exciting because we've been at it for quite a long time in regards to the development of it.
Absolutely. And I think it's important to recognize that it's coming in response to lots of people giving us feedback and lots of thought because it's going to answer a lot of questions and help with that people have with streaking.
Yeah, one of the things that we've talked a lot about is how one of the things that people have asked for is a streak freeze. Mm-hmm. Now, we have been back and forth about streak freezes, and do you have it? We know that...
And honestly, I don't think it's just been us back and forth. Sorry I interrupted you there, but I feel like even as we've polled some of our users, they've been back and forth. We get the same mixed responses that we feel. Because
what is a streak? The streak is...
by definition, consecutive.
Every day. Yeah, it's consecutive. It's not... oh, I'm going to freeze it here and then start up again.
Pick it back up again.
However, we understand that there's sometimes, because Duolingo has popularized this quite significantly in the sense that you can freeze your streak in regards to a language streak. In other words, you don't lose the streak.
Yeah, you don't lose.
Whereas in the My Streaks app right now, if you break a streak, you lose it. Mm-hmm. I mean, but that doesn't mean that you've lost the activity and everything that's gone behind it. It just means that the consecutiveness of that particular activity has come to an end and you can start again.
Right.
However, there's some middle ground that we believe the challenge streaks will help out with.
Yeah.
One of the other things as far as we've debated with this is the whole time commitment of a streak. So I think just before we get into some of the more nuanced things of challenge streaks and why we're bringing them in and what they'll be able to do for you, I think it's important to go into, and Jamie and I have talked a lot about this, the types of streaks that you can have. And there's 3 categories. There's your lifetime streak, your time of life streak, and your challenge streak. So let's go with lifetime streaks first.
Lifetime streaks are streaks that they're things that you want to be in your life for your whole life. Like it's not something you're going to start and stop, or it's something that you want to have be present forever. So every time I think of a lifetime streak, I think of your flossing streak. Like you want to floss your teeth for your whole life.
Every single day.
Every single day. So it's not something that you set with an intention of, well, we'll see how long this lasts per se, or you set it with the intention of, I want this to be something that's a part of my life always.
Yeah. We find a lot of spiritual streaks fall into the lifetime. I want to read my scriptures,
like
at least a verse every day.
And maybe like hygiene, like brushing your teeth or flossing your teeth or washing your face. I think things that you
exercise might fall into a lifetime streak. It may be different types of exercises that fall into lifetime. So in other words...
And that's where I think there's a lot of maneuverability in the streaking, because you could set a lifetime streak of movement.
Right.
And then you could have a time of life streak for I'm preparing for a certain race, or I'm training for a certain race, or I've joined this yoga class, so I'm going to have a streak around that. And so then that to me would be maybe 2 streaks. You have a lifetime streak of movement and a time of life streak of yoga. And when you do your yoga, you hit your yoga streak and your movement streak.
So what are some of the drawbacks to starting a lifetime streak, or looking at it and saying, I have a lifetime streak. Because we were talking about this, how we wrote the book, we basically put in lifetime streaks as the streak. I mean, we didn't have, when we wrote the book, Streaking, we still learning, obviously, always still learning. We'd come to a point where we felt like we had the research necessary to publish
At some point, you have to
Streaking, how
write
do
what
it.
you've learned.
Yeah,
Yes.
you have to write what you learn. And then as we've been continuing to learn, we realized that, you know what, there are these separate streak categories. And we've talked a lot about how come people don't want to start a streak, in the sense of, if I have to do it for the rest of my life, I don't know if I can. Maybe there's a little bit of fear there. I don't know. What are some of the things that you've
I
heard?
think that's the biggest one, is that it seems intimidating, overwhelming, or sometimes for some people, boxing them in. They don't want to feel boxed into that level of specificness. They want to have maneuverability. So there may be things that, yeah, I want that to be a part of my life, but I don't necessarily want to feel like I have to do it this way all the time forever.
Right.
I think it's the forever thing that seems to be this
A little bit
idea
daunting,
of, yes,
a little bit overwhelming.
yes, that people are like,
not
that.
forever.
Some people want to use it as something like you're very motivated by your lifetime streak. But I've also talked to a lot of people that have found that intimidating and overwhelming. So that's really, as we talked with different people and as we did it ourselves, that's what we came to realize, is we're like, okay, there is a place for different kinds of streaks. And that's how the lifetime and then time of life really developed.
Yeah. So let's talk about time of life for just a second. So what is that in regards to? So you've got lifetime, which again is for as long as I'm alive, and then time of life.
Time of life streaks are specific to this time of life. So if you have young children, there's certain things that you want to be a part of your life right now, but you're not going to have young children forever. So it's a time of life streak, something that you're like, I want in my life right now. Sometimes I know how long I want it in my life. Sometimes I don't know how long I want it in my life, but I'm pretty confident it's not going to be there forever because it's specific to this time of life.
One of the time of life streaks that I think about is when our daughter Rose was serving her mission, and you wrote her a letter every single day. And that was a time of life. It wasn't something, because when it ended, you did think to yourself, should I continue this streak?
Should I continue on? But it had served its purpose.
Right.
And that's a great example, because that example almost, I could have carried on with it and found someone else to write to. But I remember looking at it and feeling like that wasn't my purpose. My purpose wasn't to just write to somebody every day. My purpose was to write to this specific daughter every day.
Right.
And once that was done, it felt right to be done.
Yeah.
And I think there's a lot of room in life for those kinds of things. And a streak is a great way to get you started. I think of all the times I went to parent-teacher conferences when my kids were young, and every teacher always said the same thing, that reading to your children daily is one of the most important things you can do.
Yeah.
Having a time of life streak lets you start that right now. You can say, okay, I'm going to read to my children. Now my kids are older and teenagers, and I'm still reading to Chance, but not Bowen as much. And so because he's older, and it was a time of life. It's not something that I was going to do forever for him. But I have thought about starting another streak that is to read to my grandchildren.
I think it'd be cool.
So there's,
you know what,
do you know what I mean? I'm in a new
stage.
stage of life, and so a
You know
new
what'd be
idea.
cool? We should start a podcast that's stories. We read stories by Grandpa Jeff and Grandma Jamie, and we just have those that people can, on a YouTube channel, that we read a story to them.
They did that over COVID. They, meaning somebody started a YouTube channel that was actors and actresses reading books.
Oh wow! So I think it'd be fun. We just do it for all of our grandchildren.
It's a great idea.
That'd be kind of a cool thing.
Fun
there you go.
idea.
And we could start it as maybe a once a week streak, and for a time of life until we just can't read anymore, I guess.
I don't know.
Anyway, that was a little side note. One of the streaks that you currently have, and you've mentioned it a couple times, as far as time of life, is reading. And it will be something that does come to an end.
Right,
that you
reading
do
to my
retire
children.
it.
Yes.
Yeah.
I will eventually retire that streak.
I had a streak where I was reviewing at least one word in Italian every day, and I had that for approximately 1,700. It was a little more than 1,700 days, and I retired that streak. it was a time in my life where I really wanted to be familiar with, not necessarily learn the Italian language. My heritage is Italian. I have, in northern Sicily, a lot of Italian ancestors, and I wanted to be familiar with the language. I think it's a beautiful language. It's something that maybe one day I'll venture into learning about. However, it was something where I had gained enough knowledge and been familiar enough with it that I could recognize words and feel like I had some amount of cultural appreciation for the language. But then I was able to retire it and say, okay, that was a time of life streak and I haven't had it. And so it made it also something that was easier to end, because when you have lifetime streaks, and it's difficult to say I want to end this when you've categorized it, classified it as a lifetime streak. When it's a time of life streak, a little bit easier, because there's that time of life comes to an end and you can say, you know what, this streak has served its purpose.
Right.
We're going to go ahead and retire
We're
it.
going to go.
However, in both of these, what we found, and this is where we'll get into the meat of the conversation for today, which is challenge streaks. We found that there are individuals everywhere who want to dip their toe into the idea of streaking, but not commit to a streak forever. So let's first define what a challenge is. In other words, as you look at a challenge streak, what's a challenge? And it could be one of two things. It can be the challenge is doing the activity for a certain number of days, or doing the challenge is the activity. This is a hard activity to do for a certain number of days.
Right.
So one could just be the number of days that you do it, and it's a laughably simple activity that's like read at least one paragraph of a nonfiction book every day for 30 days. That's the challenge. Or it could be read a page, read a chapter every day, something that is probably going to consume more time and energy and focus, but it's just for the challenge, and can I do this for 30 days?
And I think and this is the part where challenge streaks is really going to resonate with people, because it answers those two questions. So having a challenge streak that is a challenge of consistency, like I just want to see if I can be consistent in this thing, is an opportunity to kind of try out the streaking methodology, to kind of try out maybe a streak that you think you might be interested in, but you're not sure. And so the challenge itself is just, it's not that it's hard per se, the activity that you're doing.
The activity isn't hard.
But the challenge is, I just want to see if I can make this a part of my life for this specific period of time. And the great thing about that is it's a great way to try out some new streaks and to give them weight without the pressure of feeling like you have to keep this going forever, or the pressure of feeling like, am I going to feel like a loser if I stop doing it, if I decide that it's not something I want to keep going.
Right.
Challenge streak gives you kind of those ways to mentally categorize the streak so that you can feel good about what you're trying.
Yeah.
And then a challenge streak that is like, I just always think of like 75 day hard. Yeah.
75 hard.
75 hard. It's that hard challenge where you are really picking something that you want to raise the bar. You're like, for a specific period of time, I'm literally going to be reaching higher than I have before. And it's probably not going to be something that at this level I can maintain indefinitely. Like, it's definitely a timed thing because I'm going to be pushing myself pretty hard. And the beauty of those streaks is we all know how great it is to challenge yourself and to take yourself beyond what you think your limits are a little bit and be like, okay, actually I can push myself harder than I thought. And those are really good. And it's good to have now a place where there's room for that in streaking as well.
Totally. 100%. I think also about one of the things I was thinking about as you were talking is how many challenges are issued over social media.
Yeah.
And how fun it is to be able to now say, okay, I'm going to issue a challenge over social media. And here's another great part. Challenges are also meant to be done as a group. So here's something else that adds to this opportunity. When we set up streaks, you can share and talk about your success in the My Streaks app. There's social media that's available, and it's really honestly kind of cool to look at as far as the number of things that people do. when you do a challenge streak, one of the things that is helpful is to have other people doing the challenge as well. And Jamie and I did a little bit of research on this and found that there's some interesting science that's been done about this particular idea of having a group do this together. So let me start with, I'm going to start this, what we found with a question. Have you ever noticed that when someone yawns, you feel like yawning as well?
Yes. I've always thought, are they contagious?
I know, it's like yawn contagious. I remember I was in my 7th grade science class, and our teacher, she said, coughs are not as contagious as yawns. And then she yawned, and like 4 or 5 others of us yawned.
Honestly, even talking about it.
It makes you feel like you want to yawn, right?
Yes.
Just a great big yawn. You ready? Should we just... This is actually part of the brain's response called mirror neurons. What are mirror neurons? They're a special class of brain cells that activate both when you do something and when you watch someone else do it. This was discovered in the early 1990s by neuroscientists in Italy. They were initially observed in monkeys. A monkey reached for a peanut, and the same brain cells lit up when it simply watched someone else reach for the peanut. It's your brain's built-in empathy engine. When you see someone act, your brain rehearses the behavior internally, preparing you to do it. So I just thought that was fascinating.
I know.
And you just yawned.
I know. Those mirror neurons working away.
That's exactly what it was.
It's great though. So I see both a positive spin on this in the sense that you want to surround yourself by people that are doing the things you want to be doing.
Yeah.
And you want to be in social media, you want to be looking at people that are doing things that you want to be doing so that you are activating those mirror neurons. And that's a huge benefit to posting in the Streaking app and then looking at what people post. I think it's because that was the thing that I thought when I first read this. I was like, so that there's a lot of benefit then to sharing things that you've learned, not just seeing them, but in order for people to see, someone has to be sharing.
I think that's also why social media can be detrimental as well as building. I mean, if I'm always viewing images and things of a negative nature and my mirror neurons are firing because I'm watching these people, that can have a really detrimental impact on my whole life. Whereas on the other side of it, if I'm in, for example, the Streaking app, and this is one of the things we've talked about forever, is I see someone that, for example, is emptying a vitamin bottle.
Right.
And you see that they're having success at it. All of a sudden, it's like, you know what? I could do that too.
I've experienced that, not the vitamin bottle, but I've been driving down the road and I see someone running and I will get the urge to be like, oh, I should go on a run right now.
And it's fun, isn't it?
Yes. And so there is this, oh, I should do that too.
In fact, just staying on that theme for just a second, when you wanted to run your first marathon is when you saw all the other marathoners.
All the other people crossing that finish line and watching person after person after person was, it absolutely inspired me to have the courage to be like, I want to do that too. And so
that's fascinating. I just pause.
We've never had a name
think about it, right?
To recognize that how important this is, that mirroring is a part of your brain.
In fact, some of the things, for example, if people following through, so a post we've talked about in the My Streaks app, a text from your friend or a friend group, there's a text that comes in and you want to respond to that text. Oftentimes, I know in our family we have a group text, and oftentimes one text will just fire off a chain of texts that coming. A video of someone journaling. Yeah. If you saw someone writing, would that make you want to write?
Yeah.
It does me. I know.
It does me too.
Yeah.
Or like a cooking show. Like I think that people, the amount of people that started cooking probably hugely jumped when all of the cooking shows started coming out.
Yeah.
And as you would watch other people cooking, you're like, I'm going to go do that.
Yeah, I agree. And then one of the things too I've seen before, a short comment in the My Streaks app that says day 6 done, still showing
Yep.
up.
In the books. Yep.
Let's make this
Let's
happen.
make this happen. It's inspired. So now we know that it's not just inspiring, that it is actually, you can actually trigger neurons in your brain to help you be more active in doing these things that you want to do. Like it can help.
It's one of the reasons why I think I've always felt strongly about having a social component of the My Streaks app. I haven't ever had a name before we talk now, but I've always felt that it's important. And it's important because it's a positive place to go for social media content, which is all about people improving their lives.
Right. And seeing that improvement naturally makes you want to also do it.
That's really good. So a challenge streak then, when you create a challenge streak in the My Streaks app, we've set it up such that in order for it to be a challenge, you're inviting other people to join you. And I think that that's key and critical. As we've been testing this, it's been kind of fun because we've only had, the small beta test of people that are doing it. But I watch to see if they've completed it for that day, even though they're they're fake streaks. They're not real.
Right.
They're things that we're just marking and we're testing it.
But you bring up a good thing that we also can talk about is that there are different kinds of challenges that will be out there. So it may be you challenge a small group of friends to all do the same thing for a certain period of time. Eventually, we would like to get to the place that we have what we call anytime challenges, which is a public challenge. And this is in the works. We won't be releasing this yet because there's still a little bit more to do on it. But it will be a challenge that's ongoing that anybody can join at any time. And you just get to recognize that you're a part of something bigger that a lot of other people are doing at the same time. So again, 2 different kinds of challenges. One where you're like, I'm going to do this with a specific group of people that I've invited.
That has a specific start date and end date.
An end date, and I need to start it at this time. And the challenge streaks, there is one component to it that if you miss the challenge streak, if you miss marking the streak that you did it, you're out of the challenge.
Right.
So there is a real
It's a game. There's a game in it.
Yeah.
There's a game component of it. I can win or lose a challenge streak.
Yes. It actually will have a leaderboard saying the people that are still in, and which is great. I think that's part of what helps a challenge streak be so successful is the idea of this really is a challenge. This really is a game. And they're really, you can lose.
Right. If you finish it, you'll get a badge.
Right.
And you finish that particular challenge. The other thing too, you brought up something I was thinking about. Oh, the leaderboard. When we talk about a leaderboard, we had so much debate on this. Is there a first, second, third, fourth? What's interesting with a streak is everyone who completes the streak wins. You have not only been challenged in the group, but also you've challenged yourself. And if you challenge yourself to say it's a 30-day streak of writing something they're grateful for at least one time every day, you'll say, I've done that for 30 days. You win. You win. And you win with everyone else.
Everybody else that
cool.
won, right? Which is, it's great. That's what I guess you're inspiring groups of people to harness working together to create almost like a mini movement of things that are happening in the world, good things that are happening in the world that you're doing together and that you can all win at together. And support one another.
Right.
And I think this is really going to be an awesome opportunity for people to be there for each other.
Okay, I have one. So I have a streak to pick up at least one piece of trash every day. I was thinking about this and I thought, should we have this as a challenge streak and require proof? In other words, because you can require that proof needs to be posted.
Right.
I thought, would we just have a whole bunch of garbage?
I know.
Showing up.
Bunch of pictures of garbage.
Of garbage in there. But it would be interesting because I found some really interesting pieces of garbage. And I've also noticed, because there's many times where Jamie and I are out on our streak walk or run, and I'll pick up a piece of trash, and we'll get near the end of the walk or run, and Jamie sees one, and she's like, oh, all right.
Fine, I'll pick up a piece of trash. Because I don't have that streak.
I know, you don't.
But there is something.
The mirroring neurons, I mean, it has a real impact.
Yep.
So the other thing, too, that I wanted to make really clear. So a streak, the difference between an anytime streak and a specific day challenge streak. So a challenge streak, that you're going to invite a group of people to has a start date and an end date. It can be public or private. So you can have a private streak that only, the 10, 12 of you have, or it could be public in which you want to recruit as many people as possible to do this streak. It starts, let's say, for example, on May 1st, and then it can run for 30 days, or you can put an end date like May 30th. So that's that particular streak. The anytime challenge streaks are streaks that are a set number of days, but you can start them at any time. So, for example, if there's an anytime challenge out there of drink at least 8 ounces of water every day for 30 days, you start that anytime challenge. And what Jamie was saying is you could see all the people that are participating in it right now, and also those who have completed it, because those will be listed as the winners.
Right.
And wouldn't that be cool? I mean, I think that's going to be really cool when we have the anytime challenges out, because you'll be able to join that challenge anytime. And if you, for example, you start it and you break that streak, well, you can go back and start it again.
You can go back and start over. Yep.
And just until you get that one down.
Yep. Which I think that's why I started off by saying challenge streaks answer a lot of the questions that people have had about streaking, and gives you the opportunity to find how you want to use the streaking methodology in your life personally to improve. Is this something that I want this to be in my life for always, and I feel confident about that, I'm going to do it? Is this something that is just for a specific time and I need it right now, but maybe not forever? Or is this a challenge? Is this something that's going to be really hard and I'm going to take it on for a little while? Or is this something that's like, I just want to see if I can do it for a little while? Or a challenge streak like, wow, there's a lot of people out there picking up trash. I want to do that for a month too and make a difference.
Yeah. So I want to share a little experience about a streak that I challenged myself to do, and then it has now moved into, I don't think it's moved into a lifetime yet, but maybe a time of life. I don't know. We'll see.
Which is great. That's exactly what I guess I'm
Right.
trying to delineate.
Now it's been 130 days. I think I've had this streak alive.
I just always remember it was right before Thanksgiving.
And the reason she's giving me a little bit of a hard time about this is because it's a specific meal plan that I was introduced to on a family reunion when we were in Oregon. We were in Bend, Oregon. We had a family reunion, a lot of people there, and one of my sister-in-laws was doing a specific meal plan, and she had brought a scale and really her own food for the most part, and was weighing her food before every meal. And you had asked her about it, right?
Right. We got to talking about it.
Because you got to talking about it.
It's obviously noticeable.
And it's called the Bright Lines. Is it called just Bright Lines? Bright Lines meal plan. But I had seen this and I had wanted to, be more healthy and strive diligently to get to a goal weight that I particularly had. And I'd tried many different things, and I had one in particular, but I'd never really been able to keep my goal weight where it was. I never went back up to when we just graduated from college. I was 260, 270, somewhere in there. But I hadn't ever really got down to the place that I wanted to be. So I was toying around. Should I do this? Should I not? And like Jamie said, about a week before Thanksgiving?
Yeah.
Maybe a little bit.
A week. It was not it was like the Sunday before Thanksgiving.
The Sunday before Thanksgiving. I said, you know what? I'm going to do this. And so I put in ChatGPT, make me a Bright Lines meal plan for the next 7 days. And the other thing I did is I thought, if I'm really going to stick to this, I need to have it be a streak, but I don't want to commit to a lifetime streak or even a time of life streak, because I'm like, I don't know if I'm going to be able to get this done.
Not only that, but I think that you were looking at it and saying, I don't know what this is going to be like. I don't know if this is going to work, but I want to try it.
Yep.
And I remember you saying to me, I know that when I set a streak around it, I keep the commitment. But I don't know that I want to keep this. I don't know that I want to keep this commitment for a long time. I kind of just want to try it.
When you were wondering too,
and so you
because
said,
it has a major impact on our family as far as what groceries we buy and other types of things. You're like, are you going to stick to this?
And so you're like, I'm just going to try it for 30 days and see what it's like.
Right. So I did. and I committed to it for 30 days. The great thing about that 30 days was it had all aspects of life in that 30 days. And here's what I mean by that. Had weekends, had a holiday, the Thanksgiving holiday, had travel. I had business travel. And so I was able to test in all these situations what it was like to stay on the Bright Lines meal plan. And I was able to do it for 30 days. And at the end of 30 days, I had magnificent results.
Right.
Better results than I had ever had in my life. I felt healthier. There was a lot of things that it worked for me on. And so at the end of that 30 days, I thought, you know what? I want to keep this going. So now I'm on day 150. Today will be 151. Here's the streak. It's eat only what is on the Bright Line meal plan every day. 150 days in, I have stayed solid with it and I feel fantastic. Now, we talk about mirror neurons. You've started to eat more vegetables because that's part of what this is.
Right.
More protein, weigh your food and those type of things that we now do a lot of that together.
Right.
Which makes it really fun, honestly.
But it's such a good example of what a challenge streak can look like.
Yeah.
A really great opportunity to just try something. And to me, that one was, well, maybe it wasn't for you. I was going to say for me, that would be a pretty hard streak. Like it's a lifestyle change.
It was hard.
It was
definitely hard. It was dramatic.
But it was different in the sense that
it was a challenge in both respects.
Yeah.
It was a challenge in can I do it for 30 days? And a challenge because there were times when I was traveling, I was at the airport, and there's not a lot to eat that is available at an airport no matter where you look.
Yeah.
Because one of the things with the Bright Line meal plan is it's a whole grain, it's a protein, it's a fruit or vegetable, and it's a fat.
Right.
And none of those have sweeteners or fats, or sweeteners or sugars, excuse me. So you try to find, I was amazed at how, so I'd start to have to plan for my trips to be able to say, okay, I need to bring snacks along that I can consume that are within the Bright Lines meal plan. So it required planning and all kinds of other things.
Right.
So it was definitely a challenge on both sides.
So a great way to just see how this could fit into your life, and was it something you wanted to keep doing, which it was.
Yeah.
So also a great example of sometimes you try something and you're like, wow, this has been great. I want to keep it going. And also I think a good example of specifically this one, and you said it too, you're like, I don't know if this will be my whole life. I think it's okay to have a non-end date. You're like, I may end it, I may not. But there's permission on both sides. There's permission to end it if you reach a point where you're like, it's not serving me anymore. And there's permission to keep it going indefinitely.
Yeah. One of the things, and this is what we'll end on the My Streaks app. So once a challenge is complete, whether it be a group challenge or an anytime challenge, the app gives you the option to keep the streak. And so if you keep the streak, it adds it up to your regular streaks, and then you can just keep that going.
That's great.
I mean, that's fantastic. Yeah. So I'm really excited for challenge streaks. You?
I am too. And I'm really excited to find to add more to the app that allows us to continue the mission of streaking, which is to give you a place to have consistency and an intentionality in your life, and the ability to look at what works for you and to utilize the tools to have the best opportunity for success, to both be intentional and consistent.
Absolutely. Thanks so much for listening in. We enjoy talking with you. If you would like to share with us your thoughts on challenge streaks or anything else, please shoot us an email at Jeffrey, Jeffrey, at mystreaksapp.com or
Jamie, Jami, at mystreaksapp.com.
Until we talk again, we hope that you have a marvelous, fantastic, wonderful day, and as always,
keep streaking.
It's the little